we've gathered 3 of the hottest new full-size luxury sedans. And look, Ma, no Germans. In fact, there's not even a Japanese car here. What are we thinking? Well, I'll tell you what we're thinking. These are the unusual suspects, and you might just be looking at what's next in luxury. We've brought together Volvo's gorgeous new S90, Genesis's range-topping new G90, and Lincoln's indulgent born-again Continental, here to check out 3 alternative takes on high-end full-size luxury. This trio of all-wheel drive flagships demonstrates how you can spend about 70 grand on a less than obvious luxury sedan. And while they're different, they all emphasize comfort over corner carving. Serenity now.
Let's kick things off with the 2017 Genesis G90. Now, while it is the most expensive car of the 3, this is actually the base model. For an as-tested price of $71,550, you get a 3.3-liter V6 with 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. Rear-wheel drive is standard, but this model puts power to the ground through all 4 wheels.
With an as-tested price of $70,945, this Lincoln Continental is in the middle when it comes to price, but it's tops in the powers department with a 3-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine, churning out 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, which comes standard with all-wheel drive.
My Slipstream Scandinavian is a top-flight inscription model, and it's still the cheapest car here. Base front-wheel drive S90s start at about $47,000, but this loaded version runs about $66,000. And my car is long on tech too, including in the engine compartment. This car may have the smallest engine here at just 2 liters and 4 cylinders, but it's turbocharged and supercharged to deliver 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque.
Fuel economy in the G90 is good but not great, achieving 17 mpg city and 24 mpg highway. It should be noted, however, that there is no difference between the V6 G90's rear and all-wheel drive fuel economy figures. Traditionally, there's a bit of a penalty for adding 2 extra driven wheels, so points to Genesis for that one.
For sure, it's quick to motor away from stoplights and to merge onto the expressway, but it's not jaw-dropping fast, partly because it weighs 4,500 pounds. Nor is it real fuel efficient with a 16 mile per gallon city and 24 mile per gallon highway rating. Again, the weight doesn't help and the power comes at a cost, but unlike the other 2 that have 8-speed automatic transmissions, the Lincoln only has 6.
Volvo says that 0 to 60 happens in just under 6 seconds. That means I'm staring at the Lincoln's taillights, but I'm about even with the Genesis. The replacement for displacement, though, is better fuel economy. This car gets 22 city and 31 highway, and that's a lot better than the other guys. Plus, if you really want to put on green airs, you can get a plug-in hybrid model.
The G90 comes with 4 different drive modes: Smart, Sport, Eco, and Individual, the latter of which allows you to tailor suspension, steering, and throttle to your liking. Now, there's definitely some difference in each of the drive modes, and you can really feel it, whether you're careening over bumps or taking some turns kind of quick, or just straight putting your foot to the floor. Now, I never really thought I'd say this, but even with a curb weight north of 4,500 pounds, this thing can hustle. Now, it might not be as bonkers as the Continental with its 400 horsepower V6, but this thing will push you along on a wave of torque with a surprisingly pleasant engine note in tow.
When driving the Continental, I don't get the urge to bomb around corners, which is good because that's not the intent of this car. It's a cruiser that feels solid rolling down the road with a suspension that soaks up bumps nicely. Now, it doesn't fall onto its side in corners, which is also good, but comfort is the name of the game here without being overly soft. Steering feels hefty, but isn't super quick to respond to commands, while the brakes are strong but not too grabby. To sum things up, the Conti is comfortable and quiet and would be great to take on a long road trip.
Unlike some cars, there's a really pronounced difference with drive modes in the Volvo, especially Sport. It feels on the balls of its feet and a little nervous. That may be fun when you're piling down a canyon road, but in everyday driving, it just feels a little too frenetic, a little too nervous. It never really feels comfortable. One thing that's harshing this Swede's mellow is the optional 20-inch watch strap rubber. They're Pirelli P0 tires. That's really serious high-performance summer rubber, and they don't fit this car at all. The car hops around in mid-corner bumps, and it just doesn't feel settled. My advice, get the 18 or 19-inch wheels, save your money, and put it toward the optional air suspension.
Now, when it comes to tech, the G90 does kind of fall to the back of the 3, but I still think that Genesis does an excellent job of providing just the right amount of tech for a price point that isn't downright offensive. Now, the G90 won't park itself, but the safety systems that are on offer are both configurable and not at all intrusive. Lane Keep Assist provides plenty of steering assistance on clearly marked roads, even without adaptive cruise control activated. And it doesn't really ping-pong you around in the lane like some other automakers do. Now, as for adaptive cruise control itself, it's smooth. It doesn't really jostle you around whether you're hitting the brakes or the gas. Perhaps my favorite system on this car is the surround view camera. The resolution is great and the guidelines are accurate, which makes parking a breeze, really, especially in conjunction with the parking sensors. And you are going to need all of that equipment because, like I said before, this car is huge. The only infotainment on offer is a 12.3-inch widescreen with connected apps, navigation, and sadly, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Now, there are no touch capabilities on the screen, so you'll be forced to make do with navigation buttons beneath the screen and a rotary control dial on the center console. Now, that may seem like a lot, but it's really generally pretty intuitive. It only took me about an hour or so to get the lay of the land.
When it comes to tech, my Lincoln wins hands down, and that's just because of the 30-way perfect position seats that also have a massage function. It's darn near impossible not to get comfortable in these things. Of course, there's your typical infotainment goodies, like Sync 3 with a really good voice recognition system, navigation, and a rocking Revel audio system. My favorite thing about the controls is that not everything is handled through the central touchscreen. There are still a lot of traditional hard buttons to handle climate and audio on the center stack. For safety, there's a lot here, like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise with stop and go that works quite well, pre-collision warning with active braking, lane keep assist, park assist, and a 360-degree camera. All work as advertised, but I have to say that the image quality for the backup and 360 camera is a little disappointing.
This Volvo's got all the latest tech inside, including the new Sensus Connect system, which uses a vertically oriented 9-inch tablet-like screen. And I really like that for a couple of reasons. One, when you're looking at the navigation map, you can see further down the road. Plus, you don't have to reach as far over to the right-hand side of the screen. My fully loaded test car has all the features you'd come to expect, including standard items like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But it's also got options like a head-up display, 360-degree camera, and a Wi-Fi hotspot. I do need to mention that there's a learning curve with Sensus Connect. In fact, it might be the toughest of the three systems to get used to. Not only is it occasionally slow to boot up or laggy between menus, but sometimes the secondary functions are a little buried between the menus. For instance, I just want a hard button to defeat the start-stop system, but instead, I've got to swipe and then fish through a bunch of menus. My biggest complaint about this whole system is the glass. It picks up fingerprints like it works for the FBI. I wish Volvo had spent a little bit more money on low fingerprint glass or maybe a multi-controller. With this being a Volvo, you'd expect it to have the most advanced safety features here, and you'd be right. This car has pilot assist, the best semi-autonomous drive system here. The lane keep intervention system is subtle, and it's got a pre-collision warning system with auto brake that detects things like large animals and pedestrians.
Now, sitting here and talking is all fine and dandy, but this is a luxury car, and a luxury car needs to be experienced, and it can be experienced from more than just the driver's seat. So in order to do that, let's get the band back together. Gentlemen, welcome to the G90, the eventual winner of our rivals, and let me tell you why I think that is. First of all, space. Tons of it. Front, back, trunk. Doesn't matter where you shove a human being, plenty of space for him. Now, if you gladly move the center console down for me, and hey, what do you know is back there? A controller that lets you manipulate both the HVAC and the infotainment system. You guys don't have that, do you? No, I already know that you don't. Now let's talk about design. This is timeless. It ages more like a fine wine and less like your guys' cars, which is kind of bred without preservatives. This is nice horizontal width emphasis thanks to the lines, and I think it's a little bit more timeless than both of yours.
I'll give you that the back seat is comfortable, but my Continental actually has more rear legroom and a bigger trunk than this thing.
Well, let's go check it out.
How's that rear legroom?
Not gonna lie, it's actually really nice.
Then up front, we have the 30-way power seats with massage.
Well, my backside thanks you.
I have the most horsepower out of you guys with 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and I think I have the best handling mix with decent cornering ability and a comfortable ride. As for tech, I have the Sync 3 system that can run Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a really good Revel audio system.
I don't know, guys. I still think the Genesis has this one.
Well, both of our cars have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and mine has Wi-Fi.
Well, if it's so great, why don't we just go check it out?
Let's go.
All right.
Gentlemen, welcome to the least expensive car here and the one with by far the most beautiful, well screwed together, and stylish interior. This car makes your interiors look like Barca loungers, and this is an Eames lounger. It's timeless. So I've got a kick-ass stereo, the best road holding, and oh, by the way, the best fuel economy by far.
But of all the three cars here, this has got the smallest interior, the tightest trunk, and the coarsest drivetrain.
All true.
So the question is, for $70,000, do we know which car is the winner between these three?
I think we do.
I think we do. Let's go call it.
At the end of the day, we're struck by how different these three cars are. They may have similar price points and the same end goal, but each feels very different without trying to copy the Germans. The Volvo gives a great first impression thanks to its knockout styling, interior, and safety tech. But it's completely undone by its shockingly brittle ride and a powertrain that seems particularly unrefined in this company. Add in an undersized cabin and convoluted infotainment, and it's out of the running. The Lincoln impresses with its powerful drivetrain and solid ride and handling balance, but its poor fuel economy and tighter packaging means it's not our favorite. In the end, it's the big white whale that sneaks up and worms its way into our hearts. It's got the most comfortable ride, the largest cabin space, and tech that's easy to live with. The surprise winner of this Roadshow Rivals is the Genesis G90.